Finance and Facilities work session. And I guess we are rolling, but it's Chris, this is kind of, looks like the agenda starts out as finance related, then we'll roll into facilities. Sean's here. Sean's a member of the facilities committee, and I was kind of, I don't know. I guess I was just hoping maybe there would be another member of the finance committee joining us, just so that kind of they would know what's going on. But I'm not going to wait very long here, and I think we should just get rolling, if that's all right. We just need to review this stuff, Amanda. So, for the meeting next week, wanted to do it tonight. And then we'll do an update on the facilities, where we are for the record. And so that's available. And so I think we can, we do have a special meeting at 6:30. And so we've got time between now and then to get all this done. So, so Chris, why don't you walk us through the first agenda here, the consent agenda, consideration of accounts, et cetera.
Thank you, Robin. You and I both were hoping that we'd have more finance members here. So I guess I should just look, we have a public comment period. Anyone have anything from the public? Okay. So we'll move right to the consideration of account. We've got a book, surplus library books disbursement. We've got some various PTAs and IPI donations, which I want to say that it always looks good, but when you see almost $45,000 being distributed, it does your heart good to know that that's going to serve the kids of the district. What else do we have here? I'm managing different screens, so please. 3A, food service.
So Chris, we're not burning books, right? We're just
no.
And we're not. I didn't want anybody to get the wrong idea if they're going down through what.
No, they're not being destroyed; they're being donated. So yes, right. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, and we also have the Phase 3 capital project, BJM and Enfield service agreement, and then we've got J, appropriation of special funds for community learning center. Anything big, Amanda, that you want to speak to in detail that I might?
No, I think a lot of this, Angela's unmuted too. So I think a lot of this is very predictable, right? Angela, always, this is the time of year in terms of the transfers.
Yeah, there's certain things, right. The library always has a book list that they surplus at this time. The only thing I would point out, the grants are all routine. It's just they took a little longer to get approved, some of these grants this year, so that's why they're coming in now. The biliteracy, it's a small one, but it's a new one. It was competitive, and it's going to support the committee who's assisting students who are able to get the seal of biliteracy. There's transfers that are the typical stuff. It's a little larger because we had another round of retro that had to get settled for the EA folks. The only thing that is a little not usual, it just hasn't happened in a while. Letter E, it's per the IPDA contract, principals are permitted to request tuition reimbursement, and this is the format we've used in the past. There's an attachment there that the board president will sign after the board approves it. That's really the only sort of, out of the ordinary thing. Other than that, it's all pretty standard.
And Amanda, just the resolution to approve an amendment to, the capital project phase 3A. Is that typically how it's worded? These ongoing, renewal of contracts with folks as we work through?
That's right, because really all the sort of the legalese, right, of the contracts were developed early on with, Tetra Tech's attorney and our attorney. And as we really increase the scope items, right, so we enter into new phases, 3A, 3B, perhaps 4, right, the language of an amendment, right, is just showing that essentially for that next phase, this design development all the way through construction, right, we're going to be incorporating that into the work, into the existing contract language, same protections for the district, same protections for Tetra Tech, and then there's fee scheduling with that. So that's really what that's showing.
Thanks. Just like the clarity.
All right. So that
Chris,
is really
right. So Chris, that was really just going down through those items for finance and right, Chris, you have no issues where we tried to clarify a bit. So I guess, Chris, if you're good, we'll just roll into like phase 1 campus construction. And Chris, feel free to stay, but Sean, go ahead.
Just a quick question. Any comment about the audit that we're going to be accepting?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that was vetted by the audit committee last month, and the internal auditor came and presented the report. It also has the corrective action plans attached to that, and that has to be submitted on the SED portal. Actually, I'm a little late with that, but so that's just at this point kind of a formality.
Thanks, Angela.
no, Rob. I'll be sticking around for facilities, so you can't kick me out that easily.
Opportunity to make wise use of her time, but thanks, Chris, for hanging out for an update. We'll just let's just roll right through and start with campus and phase 1.
Rob, Cindy, before you get going, I just wanted to mention, I don't think that there's a progress report for this month. And if there is one, we will get that to Tricia to get to everybody. But our focus today really is about just what's active, right? We really want to focus this evening on sort of what's still going on phase 1, what's going to be coming to us in phase 2 this summer, and then the roof project, which will be happening this summer, and middle school temperature controls. There's no sort of future think in this meeting. It's just all active current. So Cindy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Yeah, I believe the monthly report was issued last week, but I'll check with my admin to make sure she got that out. So we'll start with phase 1. We're wrapping that phase up. We're getting very close to being able to do final payment applications with the contractors on that. Some are starting to roll in, and we're working with the contractors to make sure they get all of their closeout documentation in before final payment is requested. So starting with Beverly J. Martin in the elevator, we were able to get that inspected and certified and turned over to the district for their use again. So we are complete with that modernization of the elevator at BJM. At transportation, work is complete. All punch list work has been verified as well. At the stadium, the work is substantially complete, as we've been reporting. The rejected asphalt imprint area will be replaced this spring. We're working with the contractor to schedule that work once school is out for the summer, so we don't impede with any athletics or gym classes or graduation. At the high school, area C, the pool, that area is getting close to being complete as well. We have some punch list items still to get taken care of at an acceptable level. There has been work done by the subcontractor on the tile, but we feel that that's still not complete, that it needs additional work. And I believe Chris is going to be on site tomorrow for a meeting at the Boynton to check on floor installation there. And we'll, time allow, go over and check the pool tile out as well and give us his opinion of what has been done and addressed to date. We are
How
also,
how are we doing on the paint or the treatment around the pool?
yep, that's next, Bob. We did get the first two products, the primer and the sealer, and that's been installed. We're still waiting for the final step, which will have the grit in it, which we haven't had any update on delivery. Right now, we're looking at a June 10th for a ship date of that. But installation of that will not impact use of the pool. Athletics has chosen not to utilize the pool until that work is complete, however. So hopefully once that comes, it's another day. They've done the other two steps in a day each, and we'll be done with that. We've
And to
also
be-
been,
Right, Cindy, and to be clear, the district has updated the mechanicals. That's working well. Talked to Dan, and really that whole system has been upgraded and modernized, right? And so that's working now. The water's being tested, and that is essentially good to go. And it will be tested and certified at some point, or if it hasn't already.
right, with the health department, correct. The leak that we reported on a few months ago that we had seen when the pool got filled around the primary drain piping has dissipated and dried up. So whether it's the pool is got chemicals in it now and it's heated water and it's helped to close those gaps, or if it was groundwater that has receded, we can't verify, but the issue has gone away, and we are continuing to monitor that with any substantial rain, and on a to be determined kind of anytime we're over there, we'll check that area out just to see if it reappears. But it's been dry now for 2 to 3 weeks, so we aren't seeing any recurrence, which is good news. Area K, or your call, that area has been turned over for district use. We've been having some meetings in the space. I think things have gone well in there with those meetings that I've attended. The lectern is scheduled for installation on June 1st, and we've coordinated with the electrician to ensure we have a representative there from the AV subcontractor to install any of the equipment that they provided that is housed on the lectern to be installed at the same time. We do have some punch list items that remain in the space. We also have some materials that have not arrived yet that don't impact use of the space, but will need to be installed once they're received. Some stainless steel handrails along the risers in Area K, your call, the lower your call, and some right-on wipe-off boards and things like that for the space and the hallway above. Those we anticipate sometime, the handrails we think could be as early as the end of May. The boards and things at this point is sometime in June. But we haven't had an update on that either, or confirmation that they have shipped. Any questions on any of that? Okay. We've also had 2 training sessions on the LED wall and the lighting controls for that space. So district staff, several different staff have attended those. So hopefully people are well versed in the operation of that system.
It's a really big screen.
It's a really big screen. Yes, it is, Rob. And you don't realize that until you actually sit in there for a meeting and speak with someone that's up there on the screen. Yes. Over at the baseball field, the contractor has been out and addressed most of their punch list items. They have one remaining item for their fence subcontractor, just to put a peg in the ground to hold the fence closed. We're trying to get that scheduled. And there's been some concerns brought to our attention by the coaching staff and athletics that there's a bit of a gap at some places under the fence. So we've notified Edger, and they should be out to address that either by lowering the fence or installing a little bit more topsoil, just so that athlete's foot or a baseball can't roll under the fence.
Cindy, I apologize. I know today's not a day for jokes, but when you started saying athlete's foot, my mind went someplace else. So I'm glad to know that we're talking about a literal foot or a baseball.
Yes, a literal foot. Yes, Sean. Thank you. Thank you. A little levity is good sometimes. Okay, that is the update for phase one. Anyone have any questions in reference to the work that we've been pursuing? Okay. The high
So sorry,
school-
Cindy. I did find the progress report. Thank you for sending that through this. I didn't go into the system to pull it.
Oh.
So I've sent it over to Tricia. It will be attached to the meeting agenda for phase one. Sorry, everybody, about that.
Thank you, Amanda.
And I just want
So
to make
on-
sure, sorry, Cindy, were you done with the update or were we transitioning?
We're transitioning to high school roof replacement.
Can I just hear a little bit more about the BJM elevator? I know we've been talking about it, and if I missed something, that's fine, but I'm reading the report now and saying for the most part, it's done. We're just waiting on some last minute items. Where are we at with?
The elevator has been inspected, certified, and turned over to the district for use. So that work is complete.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Okay, high school roof replacement. We have received all of our insulation materials as of now. If you've been to the site, you can see that it's like pretty much everywhere. Oh, Chris, when you did that, you took away my notes. Thank you. The membrane is also on site. Anything that was temperature sensitive, the roofing contractor stored in a off-site storage facility. So they'll bring that to the site when they prepare to start work. And that work is scheduled to start, I believe, June 16th on Area E building. We understand that regents will be going on and so on and so forth, but that was coordinated with building leadership and they were able to give us that space prior to school being adjourned. We do have some reinforcing to install below the roof deck in some spaces too for wind load, as Tetra Tech deemed was necessary with the new codes. And so we have that work that we'll be doing this summer as well, just to stiffen up the roof structure. Work is anticipated to be done by the end of the summer or finishing up into September with roof edge flashing and things like that, or a inspection and punch list work. But we should be on track now that we have all the materials here to get the gross amount of the work done throughout the summer.
All indicators are that the contractor the roofer is ready to go and will be on site.
Yes, we've heard nothing to the contrary, Rob.
Okay.
Okay. On to middle school temperature control upgrades. We've been at a bit of a pause for the last month and a half or so. We did as much work as we could do without having to shut down the systems. The remaining work will be done on the heating system this summer once school is adjourned and we can shut that down and evacuate the lines. And then there's also the structural support work to be done in both penthouses. And those documents have been submitted, reviewed, and accepted at Tetra Tech. So we should be well on our way to have those materials on hand as well to conduct that work. Any questions on the control upgrades? Okay. On to phase two then. We have mobilized and have actually started work at South Hill. The general contractor started abatement last night in some of the spaces down on the lower level where we have to tie in the building with the new stairwell. They anticipate that work to take about a week, including final airs and clearances and tear down. We're working very closely with Perry, with our field manager who's on site, Andrew, to make sure that the staff and the occupants of South Hill are well informed of what's happening on a daily basis. Andrew actually even addressed the class that is right next to where that work is occurring so that they could feel involved and informed of what's happening right outside their door. We also have had the site contractor mobilized this week. They're taking measurements and establishing their grade lines and so on and so forth and putting in their stormwater protection measures. And I believe next Tuesday, the schedule is they will start grading, which will include tearing up that upper parking lot. Other work for this summer is LACS addition and exterior improvements, which is scheduled to start on 6/27. DeWitt's kitchen floor, the theater upgrade, and the outdoor space, again, scheduled to start right after school is out around 6/27. Enfield's geothermal well field and interior pipe rough-in are scheduled to start approximately the same time. We also have the stadium scoreboard. That's going to start after school is out, and it's sort of staggered with the GC has the responsibility for that foundation. So they'll be doing foundations now at South Hill. They'll move it over to LACS and finish up with that scoreboard. We have a date from the scoreboard provider of when they would like to install that, and I believe it was the 1st and 2nd of August. So Streeter has a goal and a date they have to be done. We also have work by the electrician for the scoreboard for the electric and the data to the scoreboard, as well as new flagpole lights at the new flagpole location in proximity to the new scoreboard. This summer will be very busy with all of that work. South Hill, LACS, and DeWitt, they go through the fall and early winter with completions in February and March of those spaces that we take on after school is out. Then we move into our next bit of work, which will be next February and April breaks for the high school G&H toilet room renovations. Those areas will be taken one at a time so that no 2 bathrooms are out of use in one building or the other at the same time. So G will be done 1st and 2nd floor while H is still occupiable, and then we'll take H when G 1st and 2nd floor are turned over.
Cindy, can you just give a little color about what we are doing in those spaces?
In the bathrooms?
Yes, right. In G&H, what are we doing to those bathrooms?
It's a total gut and renovation. So all new fixtures, I believe new finishes in there, tile walls, floors, things like that, to update those toilet rooms.
Right, so these will still be, they will be what they are now, but just updated.
Correct, that's what I believe.
Right.
Is that accurate, Chris?
An important distinction is that these bathrooms will now be gender inclusive. So the stalls within those bathrooms will provide privacy for users, and the sink areas and the entrances will be open to anyone.
Thanks, Chris. I wasn't sure how many leading questions I needed to ask before we could get to the details, but I appreciate that. I mean, just again, to make sure folks realize and understand what will be happening within the next school year in those spaces. So appreciate that.
Sure.
And maybe that's something that we follow up on, because that was also a question from our student reps to make sure that folks understand this phase of the project. And so, Chris, we may ask you for just to make sure we have the most up-to-date schematics that went to NICED, just so we can share those. If I would imagine other board members probably think that's a good idea as well.
We can certainly provide that. I also thought it might be helpful to students to have a map of bathrooms at Ithaca High School and what amenities are offered at what bathrooms, because there is quite a variety. So folks know what to expect at certain locations.
That would be very helpful, Chris, because I'm not sure whether you know how many times we are asked about bathrooms, but it's, well, it's quite a few. But we say, well, yes, it's in planning, it's going to happen, but to have dates and here is what it will be very useful and helpful. And a map would be great, you know, for that's pretty nice. So that we look forward to that.
Chris, well, while you were unmuted, I know we were just speaking about Ithaca High School, but also the students from LACS spoke about bathrooms. Can you just talk a little bit about the bathroom work that's happening at LACS as well as part of phase 2?
Sure, Amanda. The upper level multi-user bathrooms will be renovated as part of phase 2 to be gender inclusive. Those during the design phase were the only bathrooms that were identified in that building to be renovated during this phase.
Okay. Any other? We also have some work in toilet rooms at DeWitt too, right, Chris? Yes. And
Yes,
Boynton when
the
we
ones at
do that
DeWitt
work.
will be the gender inclusive restrooms at DeWitt will be only single user restrooms. And Boynton as well, same thing.
Right.
So just to clarify, for my mind again, it was Boynton and DeWitt, yes, we're doing essentially the same treatment to both interiors but it's going to be split in different years, correct? I mean, DeWitt
Correct.
first and then Boynton. I was thinking it was DeWitt first, then Boynton, but
That is correct, Rob. We start DeWitt in June and Boynton will be next June,
right.
Which is my next bullet of 23 work. Great segue. So the remaining part of phase 2 that will be done starting next June, we have the toilet room at Caroline down by the mechanical space that will be renovated. I believe that's going back in the way it is now. We'll have the Boynton kitchen, theater, toilet room upgrades. We don't have the exterior improvements at Boynton like we do at DeWitt, but we do have an e-sign going in at Boynton. Bell Sherman Elementary School has some ceiling replacement work and exterior improvements going in. And Bell Sherman Annex has the library partitions going in to create 4 new spaces with floors being removed and replaced, with exterior improvements to improve drainage and put a basketball court behind the building. An Enfield geothermal system will be completed with that equipment. The mechanical piping and unit ventilators will be going in next year. The mechanical room will be pretty much gutted with very few exceptions of existing equipment, and new equipment will go in to work with the geothermal field for the heating up there, and the fuel oil tank will be removed, and that will no longer be how you heat your building when we're said and done. So again, next summer will be a very busy summer, as will be in many of the buildings. Not as many additions as this year starting, actually none, but we do have a lot of work in the buildings we will be in.
And back to LACS, in addition to the new entryway, there's extensive outdoor work, correct? I mean, really,
Correct.
the whole site is essentially going to be touched, or
The
a
gas
lot of it.
service, a lot of it does, yes, Rob. The gas service is the first thing that will get relocated and moved around the corner of the Black Box Theater. But out in back of the building on that sloped hill, we're putting a basketball court in, we're improving drainage, we're installing, taking out and installing new pathways, walkways, stairways to access that hill more safely, for sure. Okay. Anyone have any questions on the things we have under contract so far?
You good, Sean? Anything else? What else do we want to touch base on? We do have a few other items on the agenda. Are there other things, Amanda, that we need campus and Chris today? Other than when the heck is the pool going to be done? That kind of thing. But I always ask that. So,
You know, the only other thing that I want to say, it's not on the agenda, but that I know I unfortunately had missed one of the meetings, but there has been some really fabulous student contributions to planning for the STEM spaces at the high school. And, you know, we modeled that after, you know, the work that we did at LECS, that design, Chris's team really incorporated student voice, and we're doing the same here at the high school for STEM. I mean, their ability to, you know, what is now thinking feels like future thinking for us. And that's just the beauty, right, of incorporating what their experiences are, what they see as needs of all of the students at the high school. So it's really fantastic. So I just wanted to give real credit to Tetra Tech for incorporating that feedback into the design development phase. And I know also too, you're also sharing visuals and things with the Enfield community for future planning. And so I think that just adds just a level of richness and just real pride in the work. And so, Chris, we really thank you for allowing us to kind of walk the path of being an architect with you. So thank you.
It's a lot of fun, and I'm always impressed by the students. They had great comments the other day, and we'll have another session on June 8th with them.
Right, Chris, I sat in on that a bit for a while, and you were using VR, and I did not participate with the goggles, but I figured I would either get a little dizzy or fall down or something. But they were really enjoying the opportunity to use the technology. Three different groups, and I was looking at total student engagement, Chris. Right, and no lack of hey, what about this idea? Hey, it was. And you and your staff were writing notes quickly about all that was coming your way. So it was great to see. So I appreciate that. So thank you, Amanda. That's the kind of the update on really what's going to happen this summer and where we are right now. And can we talk about Proposition 4 for a few minutes before we kind of take a break? But I asked to have Proposition 4 put on the agenda after Sean and I were at Beverly J. Martin on Monday. I guess it was Monday, right? And talked to them. And so basically said one way or another, pending the vote on Tuesday, we would be talking about this today. And so certainly for our purposes, there was a lot more groundwork that needs to happen before, frankly, now that it was turned down, that another proposition goes out again, whenever that may be. If that's what GIAC and everyone wants to do. So, Sean, if you want to weigh in some.
Yeah, no, I think, again, there'll have to be additional conversations. My understanding is that some of those conversations have already begun. I greatly appreciated a number of folks trying to make sure that this was not pitting one community against another community, even while the process may not have been perfect. And the goal for me is how best to move forward. So looking forward to having those conversations, helping communities grow and build together. And I'm sure we'll hear more about how they can support one another in the very near future.
Is there anything else, Dr. Brown or Chris or Nicole, that we need to talk about today about this, or for future reference? This is where we are. Or
I guess I'm curious to know who will be leading those discussions. As we know, Dr. Esch will be retiring, and we have not yet started the process of fulfilling that role. So making sure that we have leadership that is being transparent and honest and communicating with the community about what that looks like would be really helpful, just to know where we are. It sounds like Dr. Eversley Bratwell said that those conversations have begun. I think it'd be great for the community to know who's involved in those early conversations.
I can share that in similar situations, and most importantly in this situation going forward, it will be the building-based principal who will be point person. I know that my team and I will now pay special attention to how our building principals are facilitating those dialogues in their communities and have frequent check-ins about how those conversations are going. So again, the building level principal, and hopefully we will have a new person named at Beverly J. Martin prior to July 1, will be point. And during these conversations at this committee and in other situations, my team and I, in collaboration with the new principal, will be updating the board.
Dr. Brown, to that, what I'll add is the teachers made sure that we included this as part of the onboarding for whoever that new leader is, that there's background and history and context. And I'll also say for the community that this is not the first time the board has engaged with either a land swap or a proposition to sell parts of land. And each time it has gone differently. What I have learned from this experience is to make sure those conversations are wide. Even while this has been a 3-year dialogue, we will definitely include a wider swath of the population, just as we were just talking about students participating and creating the STEM space. So the special request from the teachers to make sure that this is part of the onboarding.
One more question request. Is it possible also at a future meeting where Proposition 4 is talked about, that we have someone from the city to present the community with information about a variance? There's been lots of conversations around GIAC being able to ask for a variance and push back about what that means. And it'd be important for the community to know what a variance is, what that means for the property, and so forth.
Nicole, my quick response to that was, of course, we can have that. I would also like to sit down and have a conversation or ask our district leadership to have a conversation with the leaders of GIAC to see about what they want to do. This may be an issue that the issue won't be over with, but the land space request may be over with, right? We know we still have some more work to do to heal, but I would also like to check in with the city and with GIAC to see about what their plan is to move forward. Does that, I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
That makes sense. I just want to know that a lot of folks have been confused in terms of what is possible, what is available. So I just thought having GIAC, having BJM, and having the city as well to present on what is possible, what is available would be helpful. But what you suggested sounds fine as well.
I'll make sure that I follow up on that and get back to all board members, and so I'll follow up on that one.
Well, thanks, Don. Yes, to be continued. Any other items, Amanda, for tonight's? We have our special voting meeting, not right now, but it's still at 6:30, Dr. Brown, correct? I mean, that's not changed. So are we good? And we'll vote on stuff next week regarding the consideration of accounts, and then we'll get back together. The board will get back together at 6:30, right? So we're good. I think so. Thanks, everybody.